Hello and welcome to another episode of some very special Scope Insights, and I'm here today with my good friend Rob from Kowa and Russell from Southwest Optics, and today we've got a treat for you in showing you the easiest ways of getting the best out of your spotting scope, out of your Kowa Promenade series when using it in conjunction with smartphone adapters for spectacular images. If you can just research the best way of getting those results from your mobile phone, then this is the answer. So Rob, show me a little bit today about the simplest way of getting some of the most incredible results that you've shown me from Digiscoping with mobile phones.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, you can see quite easily when we look at the footage and some of the images and videos that we're shooting through these phones through a scope, that you would think it's come from a big pro DSLR setup. It is incredible. I mean, and before we go into the adapters, if we talk briefly about equivalent focal lengths, we often get asked, what's the Digiscoping through a spotting scope, what's that in terms of conventional photography? What you've got to bear in mind is with the spotting scope, it's much more compact than a large 500mm.
Yeah,
a 5.6.
Saves a huge amount of size and weight from the off.
Yeah, so these scopes weren't designed to have cameras put on the end of them. They're for your eye. But obviously it does work very, very well. So if you, for instance, I've got an iPhone 12 Pro here, the 1x lens on this phone is a 24mm focal length.
Wide.
So you put that on the spotting scope with a 25x optical zoom, and you're talking 650mm if it was a conventional full frame photography. So something this big, at 650mm, crank the zoom up to 60 times, and you're talking 1,560mm. I mean, it's unheard of for a size like this. So if you're out on the nature reserve, you want to take your spotting scope, you've got the phone in your pocket, no need for a huge lens. I mean, we all want to travel light, carry less. So it's a perfect match, really. So you should definitely give it a go. The key, I think, with anything like this, is you want it to be as frustration-free as possible.
Let's iron those frustrations out.
Yes, yeah. So we've got some various options with Kowa in our spotting scope, the Promenade line. So dedicated fit adapters. So these suit somebody that maybe wants the most simplest, quickest option. You may not change your phone so often, you're happy with your phone, so get a dedicated fit adapter, pop it into the case, and once that's in, it's snug. You can even leave the case on if you want to as a protective case. Then the next key is you've got to connect this adapter to the spotting scope, and you can get universal rings. They can be fiddly, they can be cumbersome, they can be frustrating. You've got to get the alignment matched perfectly. So at Kowa we do rings that are dedicated fit. 30mm thread here goes into this adapter here, and they push firmly onto the eyepiece. So all you need to do is attach that. I've screwed it on, and it is literally as simple as push on. That is aligned perfectly, and it's ready to go.
You're there.
You're there.
So it's just two components.
Two components.
The phone case and your adapter ring at 32mm.
30mm
30mm.
Yeah, and then push the adapter ring on the eyepiece. Good to go. You can start shooting straight away. If you get vignetting, it all depends on what camera lens the smartphone has. The wider they are, you'll see vignetting.
Of course, yeah.
But the best technique I can say is use the power of the optical system in the scope. Don't digital zoom to get rid of that vignetting, because you're going to take a hit on quality. You're blowing the pixels up. So use the spotting scope, zoom up, and you will eliminate that vignetting.
And you showed me a little technique earlier as well, where you can just eradicate it just by adjusting the eye relief ever so slightly, can't you?
Yeah, sometimes you're looking for that perfect match of the optical system on the camera and the optical system in the eyepiece. Sometimes if the eye relief cap is flat, you don't get the exact correct lineup. So one nudge back might be perfect, and it all varies on what kind of model phone you're using. So,
and if you're using a 24mm, which most mobile phone cameras have natively, then you're going to have that wide angle, and so doing that, just adjusting the eyepiece back a few mil, is a bit like reducing the hood on your wide-angle camera setup so that vignetting is completely eradicated and maintaining that wide field, isn't it? So it's no different to that.
So it's just try, see what your phone works best and play around with the eyepiece until you've eliminated that vignetting. So that's using a dedicated fit. Now what you'll notice with a dedicated fit is we at Kowa have obviously researched the phones and we choose with a dedicated fit which lens we think suits the Digiscoping, the most simple method, most effective. So you cannot change which lens. You might have a camera with a smartphone with 4 or 5 lenses on these days.
Yes.
So if you want to start getting a bit more creative, you might want to use a 2 times or a 3 times lens on your smartphone to get even more telephoto power. Then you need to use a universal adapter.
Because that allows you then, doesn't it, to choose the lens you want on your mobile phone rather than the prescribed one, which is bespoke from Kowa for the phone model.
That's right. So it gives you a bit more creative control. So
that's the Smartoscope adapter.
This is the Smartoscope Vario. So this is universal. It will fit pretty well all smartphones. So you just pop that into the clamp, adjustable clamp there. And we have this optics rail here.
So it'll take any width of a camera.
Any width. You can even, very often, if you've got your phone in a hard case, you can even leave it in a hard case very often.
Yeah, and that will accommodate things like the iPhone 16 and including the Pro and the Max series as well. And it's future-proof essentially because it's brand and phone agnostic. So you can adapt the alignment to whichever lenses Rob will show you now that you choose to.
Yeah, because the more modern iPhones, this is a 12 Pro, so the lenses are quite shallow, but on a 16 Pro, for example, their lenses are deeper, so you need some tolerance built in, otherwise the alignment is knocked off and you're going to get big vignetting problems, big black shadows, and you run into it. And that's why some of these cheaper adapters, you can have problems with them. I've done many Digiscoping workshops and things. The amount of people have said, I've tried it once, it doesn't work. So let's just go through the basics. And it could be down to your adapter. There's always going to be a weakest link in the chain. You might spend 3,000 or 4,000 on a scope, 1,200 on a phone. The adapter, you don't want that to be the weakest, the weak link. So,
exactly.
So for this particular example, the 2 times lens is there. I may want to get even more telephoto power, so I've got the option now. I'll just simply align that.
And you're keeping an optical zoom here, aren't you?
Optical zoom.
So this is no digital zoom compensation. This is pure analog still.
Yeah, so you're not cropping into the sensor, you're using the optical lens. And what you will find if you go to something like a 50mm, this is 52mm on this phone, you will get no vignetting with that because it sees past that. It's magnifying the image. Same ring, fits the RP adapters, it fits the Smartoscope. It's this 30mm thread here. It's all cross-compatible. So once you've got the ring, you can then, if you want to upgrade to the universal, you can do. So if you're changing your phone regularly, some people want the latest phones, then the universal's the route to go. And if you want that extra creative control.
Yeah, you just buy it once and keep it for whatever phone you have or your family have now and on into the future.
But the key thing is, because of these push-on rings, you're getting a universal adapter with the convenience of push-on fit.
Yeah, and it's bespoke designed to fit that 50mm eyepiece diameter, and it's really just cinched on, and there's no play.
So there you go. So that's as easy as it gets. There are a couple more options just to briefly discuss. This typical Kowa system with all the accessories and the cross-compatibility. We have another adapter which traditionally was used for DSLR photography. So if you wanted to attach a camera with a lens, we have different sized filter threads, and this goes onto the eyepiece there. But it works very nicely with the smartphone adapters. So if you're on the field, you're doing a lot of smartphone digiscoping, you've got the scope over your shoulder. These push-on rings are great, they're very firm. But if you want that extra level of security, you can use this because it physically locks on.
Okay, and what is that then, Rob?
This is the DA10.
DA10.
So it's a TSN DA10, and like I say, traditionally a DSLR adapter, but we do make these AR rings, and these AR rings cover a variety of filter threads for different size. So if you've got a 46mm lens on your Micro Four Thirds camera, for example, you change this component here on the adapter. But for this one, I'm going to use our AR30 ring, so it'll perfectly match with the smartphone adapters.
I see.
Put that on. Put the inner collar onto the eyepiece.
Okay, so that's your main interface piece. That's part of the DA system.
Exactly. Then screw this onto the smartphone adapter. Straight into the 30mm thread.
And because you've got a screw thread connection on this, once that's mated onto the eyepiece, you just tighten up the screw thread and it's just a secure fit as you could ever hope for.
So I'll just literally push that on.
Perfect.
And that will go nowhere, it's really secure.
Yeah, so there's no wobble, no vignetting, and no blackening of the image, and it's consistent throughout your shooting. And
yeah, exactly.
Set and forget.
So it depends how involved you want to go. I mean, I think once you've played around with it and see what you can do, don't forget you've got super slow motion, all these modern features in these smartphones. You know, you can shoot in RAW, video RAW, Apple ProRes. You can do beyond broadcast quality. So it depends how far you want to go with this. And then there's just one last thing to briefly discuss. Mm-hmm. With our modular system, you can change the eyepiece. We do a TE80XW, which is a 35 times ultra wide eyepiece. It's got field flattener technology in there, so the edge-to-edge image, it's super wide angle. It's the widest angle sporting optics available on the market. Put that into the scope, put your smartphone on the end, and there is zero vignetting. It's just an amazing eyepiece of Digiscoping.
I mean, for scanning the estuaries or wide open expanses, that's the way to go, isn't it, really, absolutely. For getting that widest field of view, especially in conjunction with maybe a 24 focal length on your mobile phone. So, Rob, thanks so much for showing us just the array of simple approaches from a professional, simple connecting, dedicated, bespoke OtterBox fit, made bespoke by Kowa, and they've got their own online portal which you can configure to find out what piece you actually need. So check that out, right through to the DA10, and of course you've got the option of an even wider pro end lens should you need it. Thanks very much, Rob, for the education.
No problem.
Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.